let's talk top 5 go-to whiskies. Hi everyone, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name is VinPF, and on today's show I'm going to be going through the top 5 go-to whiskies. Now this was a video first put out by Scotch Test Dummies. They did their top 5 go-tos and they challenged the rest of us on the Whisky Tube world to do their own videos on things. Mine is going to be a little bit different. It's 5 whiskies, sure, but these are whiskies from my own budget and the things that I like to have on the shelf fairly regularly, and things that are probably a bit different to what most people have done on their channels. Most people go to their scotches. 2 of mine aren't scotches, but let's stop wasting around and we'll get into the first one, shall we? So, starting from the cheapest in the group, we've got the Johnnie Walker Black Label, aged 12 years. This is the only age statement one I've got in my go-to whiskies today, and it's the first of 3 scotches that I'm going to be showing you. I've picked the Johnnie Walker Black Label, probably a bit of a strange one because I've covered a few of the Johnnie Walkers now. I've done the red label, the blue label and the white Walker, and I haven't really liked any of them, so it probably come to a bit of a surprise to you guys that I've picked this one. But the Black Label is really well priced, usually about £20 in the UK, and it's a little bit more interesting than a lot of the other Johnnie Walkers in the range. It's a touch smoky. The green label as well is another good one. That's a little bit grassy, but this one here has got just enough interest and it's cheap enough to make sure it's on my shelf pretty much all the time. Going up in the price range, we've got the Eaton Legacy. I was first introduced to this one when I did Roy's Aquavita's Blind Challenge, and he sent me this as part of it, and it came second out of a group of 5 and some really top-notch whiskies in there. The nose on this thing is incredible. In fact, I love the nose on this thing. Now the palate sure doesn't quite translate as the nose does, but as you can see I've enjoyed this bottle no end. This bottle was actually sent to me by Gary's Whiskey Reviews. I ended up paying him for it because I really struggled to find a bottle down here near me, but it's very available on the internet near me, and if you're in the US, this is the Dualcus as well, so please do try this one. I think it's really good. It's quite cheap. It's usually around £25 to £30 in the UK, probably cheaper elsewhere because you don't pay the same taxes as us, but for an NAS, pretty damn good. For my third one, we're going to the American side of things now with the Knob Creek Kentucky Straight Bourbon. This is the small batch, the patiently aged. It used to be a 9-year age statement, and that's caused a little bit of controversy in the whiskey world. I have to say that since I've reviewed this, I have tried the 9-year one, and you might be able to tell a difference if you're really looking for it, but the quality of this thing is undeniable. For £30 and less in the UK, you're getting a 50% bourbon, and it's just no flies on it really. For me, I was massively surprised by this, and when this bottle disappears, I'll be buying another one. Number 4, we're staying away from Scotch for just a little while, and we're going back to English whiskey. Now this thing here is the Cotswolds Single Malt. Only been out a few years now, but it's a really young whiskey. It's 3 years old, natural colour, non-chill filtered, and it is fairly expensive, I will admit that. £45 for a bottle, but we're talking about micro distilling. We're talking about really small distillery, putting out very little output, and it's worth supporting these things. You know, these guys are doing excellent work, 46% as well. So, you know, although sure it tastes a little young, it is high quality, and I think that although I'm finishing this one already, but I've got another one on the shelf ready to go already. So it has to go into my list because there's no denying that it's pretty good, and I can't wait to see what these guys put out over the next 10 or so years. For my 5th and final one today, this is probably going to surprise a few of you. Now I've been getting into my peaty whiskies over the last couple of years, but I've been really struggling to put my finger on one specific Islay whiskey that I love above all others. Fairly expensive still, £45, maybe a bit less if you're lucky, but what you're getting here is a finely crafted Islay blend. It's got loads of other stuff in it as well, but it's mostly Islay's, it's mostly a Lafroig, in fact 70% Lafroig. So if you want your kind of sweet peat, but you don't really want that full hit of a Lafroig, that really kind of stinky medicinal peat that's wonderful but has its moments, it's not for every occasion. This, however, just seems to fit the bill for most occasions when I'm fancying some peat. So for me, it's an absolute winner. Compass Box, the Peat Monster, get it in your collection. It's pretty good. There you go, there's my top 5 go-to whiskies. As I said, these are my go-to whiskies, not my favourite ever whiskies, and they certainly were in order of my favourites as well. All of these have their places in a tasting, and all of these, in fact, would be an excellent blind tasting just in this lot alone. You get a good diversity across the world, bourbon and some English whiskey as well, and some diversity even across Scotland with the peat and the sweet and the blends. Now I'm sure there's a load of drams in there that you think I should have put in the list. By all means, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you guys would put in your top 5. But for now, I'm going to go and enjoy one of these. See you on the next video. Now, this was a video first put out by Get a Complete Diversity Across. The green label. Now this thing got introduced to me when I did the absolutely brilliant